just Lulu bot lane. So TT's draft looking real strong this time around.
Yeah, and AL, they banned both the Nico and the Gragas from the previous game, so that is definitely the best direction that they're going to start off. A very good decision, but the Kazante for ZDZ is also a very strong champion. We've seen that this champion is not easily gankable and that it is also very reliable in those team fights. But my biggest kind of point is this bottom lane duo, because we saw that we had a Zyra Khan early on in tonight and they were struggling to get anything done or have any kill threat onto this Aphelios, and we all know how ridiculously strong Aphelios does get once you don't really threaten him throughout that early game, get those summoner spells out of the way and force major team fights for the dragons, because he has a Lulu. And something else that also caught my attention is Ucal's on the Jace for this game. And I'm a big fan of Ucal playing the Jace, because I think, especially with the whole new, with the item changes where Jace is able to go Yomus, he just gets a lot, his spikes a lot earlier compared to someone that has a bit more pressure on him in this game too, which is pinz looking to redeem himself.
Well, AL need to redeem themselves in all fashions at this point. They do not want to start the season 0-3. Their backs are against the wall, as they've been multiple times before. But now is the chance with this composition, try to make something happen. TT stands stalwart on the other side, wanting to increase their series score to 2-1, going into a hard-fought rest of their split, and especially rest of the week too. We get the Gyos as we get into game number 2 now. Speaking of iBoy, when you saw that sign down there, interestingly enough, the start has not gone the way of iBoy just yet. His first start of the split here. And for me, especially, as he came off of TT for subbing last split, we saw some of the question marks still come to bear when we've seen iBoy in his recent past. A lot of the mispositioning mistakes coming through in these big fights. Now, maybe as the second game comes across, you see a little bit more of that old iBoy we know from RA, the crazy man that goes in and finds quadras, finds pentas. And you got to find a little bit of strength here. As they do. They're going a bit ham here on the bottom side in the 2v2. yuyanjia will have to burn that flash and the heal early.
Great start for the Zyra Khan, getting that double summoners out of the Lulu already. And Xiaohao getting this red buff, he can realistically come and make a visit towards his bottom side, but I wouldn't be surprised if he just full clears and works his way and puts some pressure on Hoya, who has picked the Rumble for this top side. I mean, we were praising him the previous game where he is such a flexible player and he's willing to play.
Yeah.
He can be your Gragas or your Rumble. You can choose. And this game, we're getting served a carry. And this time with the Ignite as well, he's looking for that lane dominance. So I'm assuming Xiaohao also needs to kind of cover for this, because we know that ZDZ, his biggest struggle is when it comes to going even in the laning phase.
Get you somebody who can do both. Now, we did actually see an interesting path from Hoya, or away from Hoya at least. Beichuan took his Raptors, then now went for a full clear on to his blue side. So maybe playing with a little bit of that vision knowledge that they expected Xiaohao to have towards top side. Xiaohao now looking on the hunt here.
Yeah, and you're already getting glimpses of AL. I mean, they have good ideas, but they're just struggling to kind of commit to the execution, because there was a really nice ward placed by the bottom lane of TT, and they did deny that level 3 gank from the Lee Sin, and that does mean that Xiao has delayed his clear just a little bit, where Beichuan already working on that red can potentially move him towards his top side, and we will see a 2v2.
I think I hate to harp on it even more, but Beichuan just so big with the jungle path, right? Like literally times the pathing to where that ward, if they had got it early on his red, goes away. So they have so many question marks raised for AL on where Beichuan could be, and Xiaohao will be able to make it out with the Scuttle Crab away from this top side gank, but maybe Beichuan looking to be a bit aggressive here with some ward coverage.
Yeah, very standard early game so far, but I do really want to highlight that because Zorah was able to get a beautiful W onto the support of TT, he doesn't have any of those summoner spells, so I'd really like Xiaohao to add a little bit more pressure, or at least because this Lulu doesn't have those summoner spells, she can't walk up, and Zorah can find angles towards his mid lane, and that's exactly what they're doing here.
And I love that you bring up Zorah as well. The call up from IG Young over here to Anyone's Legend. Really trying to make something happen with the new bot lane setup. They go mid, big grand entrance actually does not connect because he gets stopped and he goes down. First blood to TT, quickly responded. 2 goes straight to Beichuan.
Zorah went in and he tanked a tower shot, and they ended up TT getting the first blood. So I'm pretty surprised that the gank went so badly, considering it was a 2v3. The white flag shows up, but he's not going to get threatened by any dive because TT, I mean, it's just a little Lulu without that ignite either. But the game is slowly getting out of control at this 4-minute mark, as we're going to see another replay. Luckily, I mean, it's Beichuan getting the double kill, but pinz landing this initial chain is all that it takes for AL to finish off this kill. But Zorah got knocked into tower range, tanked that extra bit of damage, and unfortunately, Xiaohao wasn't able to kill this fast enough, and it was a 2-for-1 trade.
At least Xiaohao got the kill. That is a semi-positive for AL.
Yeah, I
your
guess it could have gone worse. Ucal could have lived.
Could have gone worse. Could have gone worse. Could have not gotten the kill, which would have been way worse. But this means that TT are going to be feeling confident coming on the map. See if that becomes their downfall. We do have level 6s coming up, and Beichuan is headed down towards this bottom side where a dragon has recently spawned.
Yep, and from that exchange, both Ucal and Xiaohao don't have their flashes available, as yuyanjia, he has survived the early game surprisingly on this Lulu. But I want to see a little bit of an acceleration from AL and start pressuring towards this bottom side. But the struggle is that this LeBlanc matchup into the Jace, it's going to be really hard trying to find that priority.
No. Ucal, he's going to get punished. pinz gets on the board.
I like that AL is utilizing the fact that Ucal can get easily caught on this Jace and stopping that scaling ability, but Beichuan is just constantly trying to deny this potential 4-man dive in the bot side.
God, there's such a mind game going on right now. Beichuan's in the bush. You got pinz behind him. The grand entrance comes out. They now know Beichuan's here. Yuyanjia has no health left, and Huanfeng can't really follow it up. The vision shows pinz and Xiaohao here, but the dragon, big point, has been delayed.
Yeah, now Ucal's back, so AL, I mean, a little bit of a missed call where I think they shouldn't have gone for that bottom lane 2v2 and committed to this first dragon, as you had that numbers advantage. But now Ucal, I mean, he did get caught out in the earlier stage. Does mean that this play is gonna die down, but I do like how the mid jungle of AL is starting to be a little bit more proactive, punishing Ucal for burning that flash earlier, as we have Beichuan being an aggressive jungler on this red buff.
You see AL actually willing to just give this one away, so they don't want to continue getting caught up in the tussle, and that's exactly what TT were banking on. Now they just get to go for this dragon.
I think some common trend that we see within teams that are struggling to kind of stabilize in the early game is, yes, you're able to find a lot of these good picks onto the laners of TT, but it doesn't really mean much more outside of just kills. However, on the side of TT, they look for objectives in this early game, and they secure this first Ocean Dragon, which is big thanks to Beichuan as well, I think, for being there at the initial gank that AL was trying to look for.
It's been really, really good pathing timings. Honestly, a little bit from Xiaohao, but mostly from Beichuan. You actually see a lot of pings coming out from AL towards the Rift Herald, which has just spawned. Well, maybe they want to try to get an objective of their own, but they will be spotted out on this. They have first move from ZDZ, and they have also pinz already here.
Because of the reset time that TT's bottom lane took, there is going to be no support present at this Rift Herald. Nail's going to come back into the game with a slight objective with his Rift Herald. I would love to see it placed in the middle lane, get pinz ahead on this LeBlanc, because I think TT for this game too, they have a lot of squishy player champions for this draft.
They do indeed, and I guess that comes to who gets picked out before big fights. How much does this poke from TT back to AL do for them to stop maybe some of those big engages on their backline? The backline access, though, will definitely be there for AL. So I really want to see how that comes down to once we get these big 5-on-5s. But 9 minutes in, we have no objectives on the map for a long little while. The next big thing coming up is Xiaohao using this Rift Herald and figuring out where they really want to invest a lot of these resources. I could see it on pinz, majorly. Maybe iBoy, the bot lane hasn't necessarily gone their way, so maybe they just want to influx it.
Oh, the game of chicken. Who's going to walk up first?
iBoy walked up, Wanfeng walked back, and iBoy takes a pretty heavy trade there. Got a quarter of his health gone. Now, we actually want to see Xiaohao being proactive on this Lee Sin, hovering around this mid lane. We're still just looking at a really awkward wave state down here for AL. But maybe that is something where some of this blade caller damage can poke down enough to get this wave in.
Yeah, and just highlighting the items that have been picked up. It is the Radiant Virtue for Beichuan for getting that initial double kill in the mid lane. So he's going to have
cheap,
a
that's
lot
not
of...
fair.
It is extremely cheap, but that is the jungle state right now. As I'm not too sure if they saw LeBlanc backing in that bush. No, he is going to back without any disruption. With this dragon also spawning in 2 minutes, but I think TT already setting up their vision very well. Double pink ward, so it's going to be pretty hard for AL to face check this. But even though Ucal is 0-2, he is still constantly getting this lane pushed in and having that priority given over to Beichuan, and that is him just being an excellent Jace.
Yuyanjia coming up the mid lane, both supports showing their face in mid. The big thing right now is iBoy has backed, has an added advantage over Wanfeng. Kraken Slayer completed for iBoy, also the Gore Drinker for Xiaohao. There's a little bit more of a fight left in AL this time around. If they're going to look for the solo ADC in the side lane, Ghost and Flash available. Wanfeng never saw it coming and won't see it going as Xiaohao gets a kill.
Really nice wraparound by the support and jungle of AL as they spotted yuyanjia hovering Ucal in that mid lane. So if the support's not in bottom, then Wanfeng is not lonely, but alone in the bottom lane. But I do like that Wanfeng held onto his flash. I've definitely seen some ADCs burn their flash and kind of greed it a little bit, but that's going to be the Rift Herald dropped for iBoy in this game too, and he's going to pick up 4 plates. Well, 2
It's really
plates.
good resource direction at least. Yeah, gets one more there. A lot of gold given over to iBoy. Should be able to get the back in time too. That already was at a pretty big item advantage because of that pick onto Wanfeng. Still didn't get to complete his item. And maybe something for AL to continue to play around. 45 seconds for a dragon.
And because TT has decided to draft an Enchanter and of course Ucal on this Jace, the only hard CC that they have when it comes to these 5v5s is Beichuan's ultimate. And it's gonna put a lot of pressure on the Sejuani in the next upcoming fight because AL, they have so much mobility. It's gonna be extremely hard to even get your hands on someone like iBoy with that Featherstorm available as well. So we'll have to wait and see how TT approaches this upcoming fight because Hoya doesn't have that TP available. We'll take another look at this replay. We see Xiaohao just ward jumping over with that control ward and Zorah following up with a really nice ultimate as well. And that's a pretty dead ADC to me, don't you think, Mazel?
Yeah, well, you know, a little bit.
It's pretty dead.
Big CC combos, pretty dead. Pretty dead. Now we're seeing a 3v3 in mid lane, as is tradition, I guess. See the robes from both supports. We have the classic standoff right now. Dragon on the table means AL want to try to push and move, as both top platers are just walking the long mile. Five on five. 5-on-5. 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 5-on-5.
Oh, Zorah!
Yes! DT! Oh, Zorah's a little bit caught out. Now we get the re-engage. Double grand entrance on the backline from Zorah. Huge Moonlight Vigil is only connects onto 1. The Caliber won't connect either. And it looks like TT might have the upper hand here. They're going in. Zorah has the flash there too. And I don't think AL can contest this. Maybe they can look for a steal from Xiaohao, but they're not going to do it.
It's absolutely insane to think that Beichuan uses ultimate onto Zorah And it did seem like a really good fight for AL because the Moonlight Visual also missed from Huanfeng. Like you said, it only hit one person. A pick.
Oh, Combo's still alive here. All out goes in on yuyanjia. He's trying to get the kill there. Now they finally are able to pick out Beichuan. They get the flash from ZDZ. The knockback doesn't come through on Huanfeng, but 2 kills given back over to AL.
TT would have never expected that ZDZ was also in that bottom tri-bush. That is going to be 2 kills going over as we have AL iBoy uncontested in this mid wave. But I do want to also talk about that previous team fight because AL survived on very low HP, and that was all from Hoya and Ucal because we mentioned that Huanfeng on the other side of the wall, he wasn't able to really contribute to the fight, but that is how dangerous TT is when it comes to these team fights. However, luckily, giving that opportunity to have these kills go into their pockets, it's still very good as the Rift Herald, they have tempo for this upcoming fight.
They do, and now it's about utilizing that to some extent, but trying to get in place with a little bit of vision. See iBoy try to get back to the mid lane without taking too much damage in his health bar. Got a lot of pings from TT. They definitely want to fight this, and I love that we're getting contested fights seemingly every time we come to the table here. But TT are definitely trying to force the hand a bit. Even though they're behind in gold, they seemingly have the forward foot when it comes to a lot of this decision making.
Yeah, Ucal picking up that Yomus as well, so they need to play off this Jace's poke, while AL, they are looking for hard engages from Zorah, and we saw a beautiful 3-man charm coming out of this Rakan from the previous Dragon fight, but it does seem like this Rift Herald uncontested.
yuyanjia is just tanking up a storm right now.
Where's he
Tossing
going?
Xiaohao into the middle of the pitch. yuyanjia, he finally dies halfway around the world from where he started. And TT, they lose 1, they make it out. And they also got the Rift Herald over onto Huanfeng.
Yuyanjia is going across the entire map from behind the pit, but I think TT wants more.
You gotta watch out for those improved blast codes with the Hex Gate, or at least the Chemtech. And immediately a little bit of chaos was invested. Nothing else comes of it. But I think everybody got a little bit more tight in their seats.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what Yuyanjia was doing when the entire team was committed towards that Rift Herald. So just a bit caught out of position without that flash available either. But we'll have a look at what happened as the initial Lee Sin Q from Xiaohao connects onto Yuyanjia. And this plant is going to be the last thing that Yuyanjia remembers as he dies to the Lee Sin kick and gets thrown across the entire map. The 1v1 in the bottom lane from ZDZ though.
Hoya looking to take the fight on the equalizer. Hoya goes down and ZDZ survives. That means Beichuan just trying to make the great escape. Quickness has been popped by Zorah and the lockdown secured. Beichuan should just go down. And this kill could be given over to Xiaohao. Actually goes over to Zorah.
He deserved that one. Give that one to Zorah. But we see TT slowly cracking across the entire map, just getting these singular picks into AL's hands as Ucal not having a very flashy performance in this game too, and that's something that TT so desperately need. So it's going to be really interesting to see how TT play from behind, because we have seen them be in similar situations, but oh my god, Zorah, you want to be careful there, buddy. Jesus Christ, you take 3 tower shots.
Extra turret shots. Tower does go down. But the scrappiness really coming alive for AL. And I was talking to you last night before we said goodbye as the cast came to an end. We were going to get 6 games today because these 2 teams just love to be scrappy. All 4 teams tonight love to be scrappy. And we actually get to look a little bit of that scrap that happened against Hoya.
Yeah, and this is just K'Sante bringing over Hoya and surviving on that 1 HP as Beichuan. He did Ian, but didn't really connect onto
They killed pinz.
Oh, pinz died on the side. Look, Mazel, I know that this game has been extremely scrappy from both of these teams, but ever since Photic stole that Baron with the Jinx from that type of game state, I'm not going to make any conclusions for at least today, because miracles can happen as we get a replay of what happened, as it was Hoya getting caught out in that side lane once again, but pinz is the one that does get kind of DPS'd on. I mean, they just didn't really expect Hoya to drop that ultimate next to the wall, and pinz not having that W cooldown just meant he was getting cooked alive.
He's cooking, but maybe being cooked. Now, mid lane, actual pressure from TT and leaning over to his strong top side with Ucal. pinz just trying to get a trade back, stop the turret take here. Rift Herald does finally get popped by Huanfeng, and that'll be in the mid lane to try to crash that one down. While Dragon goes over to AL, this will be their first Dragon of the game. They will be losing some safety nets around the map.
I always say do deny this third dragon going over towards the hands of TT. We do see a lot more contention coming out of AL for this game too. Positive signs, as we did lack a lot of that for the game one. But this Rumble is very, very strong when it comes to these team fights, as we saw in the previous, or not previous, but the second dragon fight where he was able to do so much damage. So I think AL, yes, you need to focus on Huanfeng, but there's so many carries, you have to make your choices very carefully. ZDZ a little bit greedy here.
Ooh, a little bit greedy, trying to get out, but can't. And TT starting to get some picks back.
Look, ZDZ, I don't think you needed to go for that one. Your entire team is towards that top side. You had absolutely no one hovering you. So that was just an unnecessary death, but TT, very glad that we have like Asante ulting in. Yeah, a couple of them, so that's worrying signs, but as long as they're able to stabilize the mid game and continue to snowball with this lead in Xiaohao, who's 4-1 on the Lee Sin, by the way, they should be fine and look for those 5v5s.
A pick that we've seen banned consistently here this weekend, but something that when it makes it through can be very decisive, and yuyanjia decisively dead. Xiaohao gets yet another kill, 5-1, and now potentially onto the Baron.
Yuyanjia, buddy, you can't be getting caught in the same spot 2 times in a row with that flash available as well, but that is just the amount of pick potential that AL has with the amount of mobility from the Rakan and this LeBlanc. But 4v5 now.
Do you smell that,
no
Kitty?
TPs.
Do you smell that? Do you smell? I smell burgers. No, it's a fight. That's what we're smelling. Xiaohao with the kickback on a Ucal. There is a lot of chakrams under Huanfeng's belt, but AL fight back with a double kill from iBoy. And that's already huge stuff. TT cannot contest this Baron, and that just goes over to anyone's legend.
Zorah is having an amazing series on this Rakan so far, paired alongside Xiaohao. I mean, TT is just getting melted before they can even toss out that poke damage from the Jace. As Huanfeng, he did have to burn the flash to get away, but we'll have a look at how this fight ensued, because this was a really good choke for TT to take, as iBoy, he was half HP, but Xiaohao just kicking Ucal with one of the main carries. Yeah, Huanfeng delivered him, and sometimes, you know, the imposter just vents in and you don't know how they got there, but eventually AL, they're going to pick up that Baron for themselves as well.
Just really wishing there was somebody to stop that venting. But yeah, it's a really decisive play from AL, and something that Huanfeng is definitely going to be looking back on. See if they can actually pull themselves out from the scraps, though. The lead is starting to get monumental, and AL are starting to stream forth with confidence.
Yeah, and I think the biggest problem is that TT is struggling to find angles of utilizing this Jace. I mean, you constantly see him trying to pressure the side lane, but once this Rumble runs out, I'm not too sure they can continue to protect this for the next wave, as you have ZDZ also closing in on them towards that bottom side. So I think TT, they can give up these 2 towers and let Ucal get that top lane tower, because he's not going to offer too much if he does group up.
They're going to try to get something here with a little bit of split pushing going down. Get a tier 2 tower for Ucal. Trying to get those lethality item spikes as much as possible. Speaking of items, we got 2 items pretty much everywhere. pinz executing yuyanjia. Wild growth has to come out. And that's a lot of damage on yuyanjia. Not going to have much say in these fights if he gets picked out like that. Another tower falls in AL's favor.
With the Shadow Flame for pinz as well, yuyanjia is definitely struggling to survive these team fights. And this is truly our first time seeing yuyanjia pilot something like the Enchanted Support. And we see that positioning is something that he is struggling with when it does come to these team fights. And it is causing TT to play into numbers disadvantages. But Ucal, I mean, he's also slowly working towards his LDR, as he isn't getting threatened too much in the side lane, which I would love to see AL cut that down.
Yeah, try to find a way to even the odds for TT or lengthen the odds for AL. There's a lot of exploratory findings for TT right now on the top side of the map, but they need to get back and defend as AL still have Baron buff for 25 seconds, and they are knocking on the door of the inhib tower in mid lane.
We do have 3 backs coming out of TT, but AL's next objective is going to be that dragon. Hoya canceled his TP, and that does mean it's going to be a 4v5 for the time being. However, I still think TT, they have the correct mindset for the time for now because of how Ucal is consistently putting some pressure towards the side. And AL, I mean, yes, they have really great team fighting, but ZDZ on this Cassante, for giving that one pick over, they're getting a little bit hesitant on where they should look for the next pick. Because I honestly think with LeBlanc and the Lee Sin, you can burn a flash out of this Jace, but Beichuan is covering him very nicely.
Still got a lot of map to cover though, as we have scaled into a 25-minute game where AL are hugely ahead, 6,000 gold. And now are just
gonna flame Horizon pinz.
He might, as man, yuyanjia just keeps tanking skill shots to the face, and Beichuan just looking for something as a point of stability on the map here. They have a lot of go triggers. They have a lot of things that combo well together for Thunder Talk, but they're so far behind at this point. It's really hard to see that come together and have enough damage to take somebody out.
Yeah, but the game has slowed down quite a bit ever since that Baron going over towards AL, and you see that 3 items are now online for Ucal as he was just slowly CSing throughout those side lanes. So AL, if they get caught off guard of how strong this Jace is, that could be a huge problem. With the BT getting picked up by iBoy though, so he has to play these fights very slowly. Dragon is spawning, Baron is spawning in 1 minute 30 though. That's going to be the next objective.
I do wonder if they're able to even stall this one out. I'm seeing that a lot of Hoya's influence here comes off the equalizer and then engaging out of the equalizer for the rest of TT. But with this kind of stalling of time, that's where this kind of comp from AL thrives, right? Like, iBoy is on 3 items now. You will never kill iBoy, I feel like, with this Bloodthirster. The fact that he has the recon, but as well as just a lot of go pressure already in front of him, he will not be the target. You will be what you wish you targeted when he's taking you all down. And pinz, a big enabler of that, a much improved game from the last time around as well.
Yep, and with TT slowly making their way towards this top side, we do have really good wards that is covering the Baron. ZDZ a little bit caught out of position. I don't think AL know.
Might be in a fight for his life. This is tanky Cassante, but not tanky enough. Taken all out there onto Ucal and gets knocked over the wall.
He's out!
Oh my goodness! The equalizer from a distance, the long shot that is not heard. And ZDZ, like a Chad, just walks away from the explosion.
Well, Cassante do Cassante things, and that is all of their ultimates burnt onto this top laner, and now they won't have anything to contest this upcoming Baron, which is going to be the next focus for AL. ZDZ already committing the Baron, but I mean, that was a desperate attempt by TT, and I think that was their best shot because ZDZ, he has shown weaknesses. Oh, iBoy, run!
Again, though, like, he has so many tools. He didn't even have to use any of them, just use the Gale Force. Still has Cleanse, still has Featherstorm, still has Flash. So many available peel tools to the lone ADC of AL, and TT just can't find the combos to land. There's one combo.
You do see a lot of damage coming out of this Jace already. Xiaohao trying to look for a flank. All flashes are available, but the problem is with AL is that yes, you have control over this top side, but TT have a very sneaky ward right outside the Baron, so they know that you're never going to be contesting this, and they can just replant their vision down once again while they trade off this 3rd dragon and stall the game out even more.
Holy cow. We were like flying by the seat of our pants here at the start of the game and game 1 as well, and now it's like we're as slow as molasses. It's just completely slowed down. Maybe a bit of a slow-mo action movie going on here now. But it's still heavy-handedly in favor of AL. What?
That Zorah has 10 out of 12 KP on this Rakan. Man is smurfing for this game too. But the tempo has slowed down so much that items are slowly now coming online. Also, third item getting picked up by Huanfeng in the BT. Beichuan looking for an angle.
He can't find the poke to initiate into the composition of AL. But yeah, great call out on now Zorah, the main engage, it feels like, of AL. Big call up from over on IG Young coming into this split for AL. And now we'll see if he can be the big difference maker in this one to try to pull them to the brink of getting their first series win. One win is a nice step towards that, especially after the way TT handled the first game. It was not looking too bright for AL. Pinz getting caught a little bit in the side here, but just some more tussling while the Dragon goes over to AL.
AL really need to start considering their state of the side lane waves, because you see that top lane is slowly pushing towards AL. Really good poke from Pinz, but it's not going to be enough as he does have that BT in hand. But they gave away this Baron priority for this Dragon. Oh, Beichuan misses the ultimate.
That's a nice engage tool gone. Pinz will be happy about that one, and maybe AL want to force the hand around Baron, but no, they find Huanfeng again. But they can't get the connection of that chain. Pinz will die if he stays. Back onto the dance around the Baron pit.
A lot of gold being missed out from that top lane wave getting pushed into the tower, and AL struggling to find a fight for them to start. But it's also very great discipline from Huanfeng. You see that Pinz is consistently trying to find angles onto this AD carry, but you're at a 30-minute mark now and you're facing Aphelios and Lulu, so if you're not too careful, they're going to start the Baron.
They do just that, and they burn it with the red-white from Huanfeng. TT trying to make it happen, but I smell a flipperino. Xiaohao denied out of the pit, and it's Beichuan who gets the Baron. Afterwards, though, you got an engage here. It's looking pretty good for TT as they get a pick on a Zorah, but here comes iBoy. The Blade Caller able to stick on to Beichuan, and you get one kill back as well. The Baron does go over to TT, though. That's pretty big. They get 3 members out with it.
And with this breather of an objective going over towards the side of TT, that is the result of AL having weak side lane wave management, where Pinz, he was forced to back and get that wave towards the top side, and TT used this opportunity and just sneaked the Baron away with the red and white, where AL didn't expect this rush of a Baron, but now only trading off 2 members for that 1 kill, and also the Baron in hand. I mean, the game is slowly transitioning into TT's favor.
It is indeed. I think they still have some execution questions that will be coming up and how their comp really works further on. We did get another item completion for Ucal, so there'll be 4 items now. And a pretty good lead for Ucal as a whole. But it's really going to come down to Huanfeng versus iBoy, and a lot of positioning in that. A lot of catch-out opportunities for AL.
I'm not gonna lie, every time I pan to the scoreboard and I say that yuyanjia is 0-4-0, it makes me a little bit sad. As long as yuyanjia is the decoy for major objectives, that's an angle for TT to take, because we obviously saw Xiaohao, instead of going for the Baron flip, oh, it's ultimate from Beichuan, connects.
iBoy does have that GA completed now, 4 items. Getting hit by the equalizer though, hurts pretty bad. Not gonna get a pop, does have to get that cleanse out though. You have Pinz on the backside. For something, does get tagged by the Calibum, as now another tower does fall, and TT are looking confident here with about a minute on this Baron buff. At any moment, things from AL could get kicked off if they catch out Huanfeng. It'll just be some lasting damage in the mid lane, but TT will back off.
Look, you don't need to kill iBoy to get these macro plays online, because although iBoy, he didn't get the GA, which would have been ideal for the side of TT, he was so low that he couldn't even attend the fight. I think Pinz, once you get to this late in the game, you have the Edge of Night coming online, and you also have Sejuani, who's so extremely tanky, but I think he's a little bit caught out of position here, Beichuan. You don't want to be there, buddy.
That's 100% caught out. Beichuan goes down. Zorah gets his second kill of the game.
All right, look, I was just talking about how he was tanky, but when you're caught out by yourself 1 versus 3, AL gonna regain some of that vision towards his bottom side and really secure this 4th and final dragon, which is going to be the Chemtech Soul, but I'm not too sure if it's gonna do too much for them. I guess K'Sante does have massive shields when it comes to this trading, but it's a Soul nonetheless.
It is indeed. That is an Anthemus Chains completed for Zorah. Interesting second item there as Lord Doms finally comes online for Huanfeng. If Elio's 4-item spike is huge, but 40 seconds until that dragon, TT need to find a game plan that works for them.
You also need to consider the fact that iBoy and Xiaohao are coming into this upcoming fight with 2 GAs. So they have to kill them twice, and especially with Beichuan getting easily kited out by iBoy at this stage in the game, it's going to be really hard to face check this. They're going to contest, I think, though.
See if they can find an angle to even contest. Beichuan tanking the primary engage here. AL just feeling it out. Pinz just wants to find a little bit of poke here or there. Doing a better job than Ucal right now as well. Now AL with a little bit of hesitancy around this pit setup. Okay, they get the Glacial Prison out already. Pinz half health. iBoy just starts up the dragon. Beichuan tanking the front line yet again. Huanfeng has the red and blue and a lot of AoE damage if the Moonlight Vigil comes across. Looks like AL want to go in for a fight now, though. iBoy repositioning in front. There, onto the back line. Xiaohao gets a big kick onto yuyanjia. That's a big Moonlight Vigil, though. Huanfeng's putting out some work. In and out goes Xiaohao, and in and out go AL. You've got iBoy still on the side with the Feather Sword. The big plate color takes out Huanfeng. No, he's still alive. He's going through ZDZ. He's shooting them all down. Every gun utilized, but it's still iBoy's day. We asked him to show up, and show up he did in a nice fancy suit.
And it does seem like AL with this final fight, they're going to make the final push towards this mid lane with no remaining members on the side of TT, and they are going to take this series to a 1-1. Death timers 15 on the jungler, but I think maybe they just settle with this inhibitor and the game continues, Mazel.
It still goes on. The Dragon Soul secured for AL, but the game continues. They couldn't even get the inhib tower, or the inhib at least they got the tower. But still, AL are fighting tooth and nail to try to bring us to 3.
And just taking a look back at this fight, yuyanjia does get the initial Lee Sin Q onto him, and he gets instantly deleted by Pinz for the remaining of the team. But I think TT definitely could have played this a lot slower, as you see Ucal and Huanfeng doing so much damage in this team fight. But if my eyes are all on Ucal, he just goes right onto iBoy, but you still have the Xayah ultimate available, and he gets instantly baited by this. And someone else that is an unsung hero is ZDZ, as he flash Qs the Aphelios and CCs him for a good 3 seconds, and then gives enough time for iBoy to kill him with the remaining damage he has.
Well, we're looking back at the game now as AL do not want to give TT a moment to breathe. They have the soul and they are looking for fights. The back did get completed there from yuyanjia, who had just burned the flash actually. I just see that cooldown down. Beichuan will burn that flash as well. AL looking forward now with this minion wave coming up. They want to try to take a fight somewhere. They're pinging it back onto the Baron.
Yeah, but AL, iBoy is sitting on the GA, the Flash, and the Cleanse, also with that Featherstorm available, while Huanfeng, he's been a bit of trouble.
Hoya's down! iBoy has cleaned him up! And now it's a 4v5 in favor of AL. Beichuan still very tanky, but this means AL can just start the Baron now.
They can, but what are the chances that Beichuan is going to be able to get his hands onto this Baron and bring this game back for TT? We don't know just quite yet. ZDZ trying to zone the remaining TT members out of this pit, but they have to do a lot more than that.
Zorah's trying to peel as much as he can. That blast cone was huge. They still find the backline. The Feather Storm with the blade collar from iBoy. It's a double kill, though, that came through from Huanfeng, but it's not going to be enough. There's no way, Jose. And baby, we're going to 3. AL clean house. And we've got a full day of games to kick off week 2.
And without surprise, AL are managing to close out this game with a clean 5-0 ace. They're going to just slowly wait for this middle wave. Are they even going to wait? I'm not too sure because it's going to be a huge win for iBoy. I mean, this Zaya was absolutely nuts. Only Hoya remaining as ZDZ burns the TP to save that one caster minion.
Hoya just goes down here, goes golden, but the tower just takes a huge amount of damage. And AL putting the finishing touches on this game 2, sending us to game 3 and trying their darndest to get their first series win of the summer split. AL, you've done the miracle at least halfway. It's about pushing it all the way now against this TT, who will be angry after that game.
Very, very angry indeed, but I also just can't stop praising Zorah for having an amazing performance on that Rakan. He had so much influence when it came to those engages, and it allowed AL to find a lot of successful team fights throughout the later stage of the game, and especially when your eyes are all on Huanfeng. He wasn't really able to play the game because of how Pinzy and iBoy had a chokehold onto this Aphelios. But yeah, the biggest difference was definitely that TT, they had a composition where it was all damage, but a single hard CC coming out of Beichuan, and that put so much pressure onto this Sejuani, where if you make the wrong move, which was eating in onto iBoy, that would have been one person gone from your team roster, and we saw that AL took full advantage of this.
Hopefully we'll be getting the stats here, because I just want to take a look at some of those damage numbers. It's got to be insane. We have such scrappy fights, but it was AL who looked a lot different from that game 1. I was still questioning the composition coming into this game 2, but it definitely was a lot more decisive. And once they got that lead, they were able to snowball that. And that's where those question marks on the other side for TT had come a lot from, is what do they do when they're behind? And it hasn't looked good in the past. It didn't look good here. God,
yeah,
look at the damage everywhere.
Everyone did a lot of damage, but obviously your shining star of this game is Xiaohao, as he was 4-1 and 4 at one point in the game, and just having so much influence when it came to those skirmishes, shutting down Ucal from becoming that scaling monster on the Jace, where it denied a lot of those item spikes. And of course, I think someone else that is also doing pretty well in the side lane is ZDZ. Yes, he got caught that one time, but it was only one time. And that is a huge improvement, because that is exactly the stabilization that AL need to allow iBoy to pop up in these team fights. No worrying signs from the other side of the map.
Yeah, it's so interesting the way that this meta for this particular series is going to pan out. So much
KP.
I know, so much influence from Xiaohao in this game on the Lee Sin. Again, a pick that we've seen banned away from a lot of teams, but not really making it through. Xiaohao shows why that shouldn't maybe make it through. It just gives a lot of options over to anyone's legend, but particularly Xiaohao.
Yeah, and I think the takeaways for TT in this game too is yuyanjia looked like he was having a very, very hard time on this enchanter, and I would much prefer TT to have him on something like the engaged supports, where you do make up for that lack of